All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. We got some people watching on Odyssey. Give us a shout and a like and all that on Odyssey if you're watching. Got some people watching on Substack. Give us a like and a shout if you're watching on Substack. What's up, Victory Jen? How you doing? All right. I do appreciate the people watching on alternative channels. Trying to break away from the Death Star. Although I don't, Are these other channels truly alternative? We don't know. We're doing our best. This is what we're doing. We're doing our best. All right. So first story of the day. Want to get to it. Apparently, SNAP benefits are going to be restarted, but not to the full amount. Oops, crap. I love when I do that. Hold on. We're going to get there again. All right. SNAP benefits will restart, but will be half the normal payment and delayed. So if you're hungry, if you're wondering where you're going to get your food from, you're going to have to wait around and wonder some more. And then you won't get nearly enough. It's something, I guess, but Trump administration says it will restart SNAP food benefits, but it will pay out only half the amount people normally get. I don't know why the delay. I'm not really sure. These are like automatically loaded cards that people get. So it's literally the click of a button. But the administration says there's only $4.65 billion available in that fund, in a contingency fund, to pay for SNAP benefits, which is roughly half of the $8 billion in food assistance payments people receive every month. I heard the biggest recipients of food payments are most likely extremely red states: Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Most of the SNAP money goes to these states. FYI. So they're not going out paying for the commie blue states, all the people in the commie states trying to live off the hard working backs of the red state American. That's not what's happening. At all. At all. At all. At all. If you think some stuff like that is going on, it's not. All right. In a court filing, officials said depleting that fund means no funds will remain for new SNAP applicants certified in November, disaster assistance, or as a cushion against the potential catastrophic consequences of shutting down SNAP entirely. The Trump administration declined to tap any additional funds for SNAP, saying that it could take money away from other child nutrition programs like school lunch and breakfast programs. Come on, man. The decision comes after 2 federal judges ruled that freezing payments for the country's biggest anti-hunger program is unlawful, even as the money ran out this weekend for 42 million people who rely on SNAP to put food on the table. A government's response is part of the case in Rhode Island. Now, come on. We can print money whenever we want. We can send billions to other countries. We can send billions of what, there's just an unlimited tap of funds. All right, a whole bunch of people watching on Substack. Thank you guys for watching on Substack. You guys rock. There's an unlimited amount of funds for military endeavors, for assisting bombs and assistance in blowing up people. But there's a, crying poor when it comes to feeding people or housing people or taking care of people. It's absolutely, positively a lie and ridiculous. And it's unfortunate that people have to suffer while there's plenty of money sloshing around for ballrooms and such. All right. We're going to play this back and forth between a reporter, Wijia, and Carolyn Levitt about the SNAP.
Ouija.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Can you help clear up some confusion about SNAP benefits? Because
Sure.
The president just posted that they will only be given out when the radical left Democrats open the government and not before.
Mm-hmm.
But just yesterday, the administration said it would comply with a court order to expend the full amount of SNAP contingency funds by end of business day yesterday. So did the administration distribute that money or defy that court order?
No, the administration is fully complying with the court order. I just spoke to the president about it. The recipients of these SNAP benefits need to understand it's going to take some time to receive this money because the Democrats have forced the administration into a very untenable position. We are digging into a contingency fund that is supposed to be for emergencies, catastrophes, for war. And the president does not want to have to tap into this fund in the future. And that's what he was referring to in his Truth Social post. So the Department of Agriculture, as for the latest SNAP payment in the judge's order, put out guidance to states today on how to get that money to the recipients of SNAP. But it's going to take some time. The best way to get the full amount of SNAP benefits to those beneficiaries is for Democrats to reopen the government. So to anyone who is a SNAP beneficiary at home who needs that assistance, and the president was just saying, this is for people who are truly needy, who need food, who need this assistance from the United States government. Democrats are holding it up and making it difficult for the administration to get those payments out the door. So if you are at home and you want your SNAP benefits, call the Democrats and tell them to reopen the government.
I don't know. Seems like Republicans are in the majority there. Interesting that, she was complaining about the funds being used for emergencies, but people starving is not an emergency. No. Make it make sense. Meanwhile, ICE agents admitted to shooting a U.S. citizen in California. And they seem to be going, the ICE agents seem to be going off the rails in their enforcement of whatever it is they're enforcing. I guess immigration, but we're not sure all the time. A recent shooting in Ontario, California, involving an agent from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and an American citizen has sparked outrage and deep concern. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that the man who was shot during the traffic stop was indeed a U.S. citizen, an admission that immediately changed the public conversation about what happened. According to U.S. official statements, the driver allegedly tried to use his vehicle as a weapon against the agents. Hold on. Where have we heard this before? There was an incident in Chicago where ICE agents shot a woman. Reflect the Sun on Odyssey. What's up? What's up? ICE agents shot a woman in Chicago claiming that she rammed them. There's another incident here that I'm going to, let's see. Here's another incident in Chicago about them driving a woman off the road. So anyways, with the incident where they shot a woman in Chicago, it was later shown that they rammed her. So I don't believe this story for a second. You should assume that ICE, just like Israel, are just liars. Every time they open their mouth, whatever comes out is full nonsense. And don't ever believe anything that they have to say, ever. There should be some penalty for all of this kind of behavior. But who is around to enforce that? I'm not sure. According to official statements, the driver allegedly tried to use his vehicle as a weapon against the agents. Federal investigators are reviewing the evidence, but local officials and lawmakers are already demanding answers. The case has opened a wider discussion about how much power federal agents should have when operating within American communities. The incident took place on October 31st in Ontario when ICE's Homeland Security Investigations Division attempted to stop a vehicle during an operation. According to DHS, the driver allegedly tried to ram the agents, prompting one of them to fire. The driver was struck and later identified as a U.S. citizen, not a non-citizen or undocumented immigrant. They had to state that. The shooting immediately drew national attention as ICE rarely engages in forceful encounters with American citizens. That is a lie. That is a full-on lie. They engage U.S. citizens all the time. They arrest them all the time. They even disappear them all the time. Unbelievable. Here's some footage of ICE ramming into the car of Diane Figueroa, a U.S. citizen. Again, all the time. They're doing this all the time. This is not, different, new, unexpected. It's not a change of pace or anything. It is regular behavior these days. They rammed the car of Diane Figueroa, a U.S. citizen, pointed guns at her, dragged her out by her legs, and kidnapped her without charges. She wasn't protesting. She was literally just driving through West Town when men with guns and no badges hit her car, pulled her into the street, and disappeared her into a van. Her family found her hours later at an ICE facility, thanks only to her iPhone location. No warrant, no lawyer, no call, just violence because they could. Thanks to SCOTUS saying they could arrest anyone they think is an immigrant.
Yeah! Hit and run! Hit and run! That's a hit and run! Hit and run! Hit and run! That's a hit and run! Hit and run! Hit and run! Look, hey, watch out with that weapon! That weapon! Yo, watch out! What's wrong with you? You hit it! You hit her! Yo! What's wrong? You hit her! You hit her! You guys hit her! You guys hit her! What's wrong with y'all? Y'all hit her? Y'all bust a whole U-turn in the middle of the street! Y'all hit her! Y'all on camera! Leave her alone! She ain't even do shit! She trying to go to work! She's trying to go to work! What the fuck? Oh, what? Y'all some crazy. Y'all got no heart, for real. No heart. No heart.
What the hell? This is wild footage.
She's a female.
Absolutely wild footage.
You guys hit her. How you guys gonna arrest her?
Wow. As you can see from the date on that video, that was October the 10th. And as far as I can tell, unrelated to the other incident where obviously they didn't shoot her. They shot another woman several times after they rammed her. So I'm going to assume this story about them shooting somebody in Ontario, I'm going to assume that they rammed him and not the other way around. Absolutely despicable behavior by these fools. In the next thing I want to cover, it's an election day, and the big story is Mamdani running for mayor of New York. There's also an election here around Prop 50, which is like a redistricting. I don't know how I feel about the Prop 50 thing. It makes me feel real hanky because they're talking about redistricting so that California can send more representatives to Congress, which I feel like is basically gerrymandering. They're just admitting to you need more Democrats in Congress to fight these Republicans. And it's kind of one of those two wrongs don't make a right thing, right? If it's wrong for Republicans to gerrymander, it's wrong for Democrats to gerrymander. That's just my thoughts on it, my initial thoughts on it. However, people here seem to be, they're just, blue, no matter who, blue all the way. Nobody, everybody just votes straight blue, even if they know the people that they're voting for are despicable, AKA Gavin Newsom, or whatever. Or even if what they're voting for might be, morally a little bit shady. If it helps the Democrats, we generally Californians tend to go full Dem. Anyway, so there's a lot of support for this Prop 50. I don't know that it's gonna help to have more people in Congress, more Democrats in Congress. I'm not sure. They don't seem to be when we have a majority, they don't seem to be able to do the right thing or do much. They seem our hands are tied. Right? Kind of like the Republicans screaming at the Democrats for the government shutdown. Oh, if they'd only come back and help us open the government again, our hands are tied. Okay. I don't think so. What's up, Devil's Therapist and Wayne the Pain on YouTube? It's a lot of blaming the other side when they can't, we just can't seem to get anything done or get an agreement. But when it comes to sending Israel, billions of dollars in arms or, a big upward transfer of wealth, aka the CARES Act or the TARP Act, well, then they're totally in unison and they're able to get that done in, seconds, right? They can do that stuff in a week. Bam, done. Right? Like, oh, where's all this inaction we couldn't get any bipartisan agreement on? Where. So anyways, Prop 50 is happening in California, in New York City. Mom Donnie seems to be the front runner. And there's lots of people are saying he's, not as left as he could be. And there's always going to be, like purity tests, right? Obviously he's left enough for people on the right or in the center to say some wild stuff and do some wild things, right? Like, people saying they're going to leave the city, right? And there's a 10% of New Yorkers said they were going to leave if Mom Donnie went. Really? Are you sure? Really? It's, the Red Scare, socialism is coming to New York City. We just can't, what? Are you serious? I don't know how, I don't know how many minutes I have to go on and on about that. Probably not. Does anyone see videos of moms scared of Snap vanishing? I don't know if I've seen videos of that. I've seen videos of people saying they were going to take food from the grocery stores. Anyways, talking about this race, so Mamdani is ahead in the polls, 46% compared to 31% for Cuomo. So, so much support for Cuomo, who's really a despicable cat and was run out of the governor's office, right, during COVID. How he has 31%, I don't know. I think it's because he's he's the centrist, the capitalist centrist who will, help the people with money keep their money or something like that. And in Curtis Sliwa, the founder of Guardian Angels, is running on the Republican ticket, and he has, close to 20% of support. Well, they say 16 here, but Trump has strongly opposed Mamdani, endorsing Cuomo. Elon Musk has endorsed Cuomo. Well, so if you want to know who not to vote for, you can see that Trump and Musk have supported Cuomo. I don't know. Mamdani has issues, I guess, for some people on the left, but I'm going to say he's probably more left than most. So I would say that's probably, it's a step up from Cuomo. So take how about Mamdani? If he gets half the things he wants done, then I guess that's a win. I hear people, from the libertarian crew saying, "Oh my God, he's a socialist. He's going to turn New York City into San Francisco." Okay. they're, the people that are the law and order types, or totally not socialist, but want law and order. Try think yourself around that one. Don't want Mom Donnie. So yeah, that's going on. I don't know. Looks like Mom Donnie's going to win. Disabled Ginger says Texas Governor Greg Abbott says that after the polls close, he will impose a 100% tariff on anyone moving to Texas from New York City. What? Governors can't impose tariffs. Also, Mom Donnie scares the crap out of these guys, and I think that's awesome. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that they were saying about Bernie Sanders. Did I need to say Sanders? The stuff they said about Bernie when it looked like he had a chance, or when he was, coming up in the polls. They were coming out saying all kinds of, oh my, there's going to be executions. Just wild brown shirts. Come on, man. But this is how absolutely wild-eyed, frightened, terrified they are of anyone who's just slightly socialist, not even like really hardcore socialist, just, kind of center socialist. But any position to the left of, hard right is scary for, most of the media and most of the people in power. Remember when they were like, oh my God, they were talking about raising the taxes, Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, back in the day when they were actually talking about, kind of socialist platforms. And they were talking about raising the taxes on the wealthy by 1% or 2%. And people, oh my God, dude. I heard somebody on a podcast talking about the fact that UK used to have a 90% tax rate. So did the US on the wealthy. That's as it should be. You don't need that much money to live if you are super, uber, extra, incredibly wealthy. How much money do you need? And I'm all in favor of really high tax rates. Sorry, because those are the people that should be funding. That's called redistribution of wealth. And somehow people have an issue with that, because taking care of the people less fortunate than you when you are super fortunate is not a bad idea. Not scary to me at all. Sitting atop a mountain of wealth while people are starving and living on the streets, it seems perfectly normal. No, it seems disgusting, is what it seems. Dick Cheney finally packed his bags and left the planet Earth. There'll be no memoriams for this guy. No, RIPs, no. Sorry to see you go. None of that. Dick Cheney was one of the most evil, disgusting people that ever lived. And we should all be thankful. We will all be better without his presence. Do I feel bad when another human being passes away? Sure, but he was barely a human being. He had 3 heart transplants. Cheney, if you understand politics a little bit, Cheney is the reason we have Trump. Cheney is the reason why Trump can do such scary things. Cheney was instrumental in consolidating the power of the president and sought to increase that Oh, I forgot to put the chats on the screen. Sought to increase that in his tenure as vice president with George W. Bush. But he's been around forever. He was in the Ford, the Reagan, the Bush Senior administrations. He was a swamp creature extraordinaire. So is Trump, by the way. If you think that Trump is an outsider or ever was, I don't know, slap yourself, I guess. And it, come to come back to reality. This guy was terrible. He sucked. I saw somebody saying the only thing worse than Dick Cheney passing away is that he wasn't in jail when he did pass away. And I totally agree with that. This man should have been behind bars. He should have been convicted of war crimes, of, being a traitor, of being, traitor to the Constitution, all kinds of things. He was a bad guy. And he's gone. Because it was, for the longest time, people were like, is Dick Cheney still alive? Dude has had like 3 heart transplants. Dick Cheney, the hard-charging conservative who became one of the most powerful and polarizing vice presidents in U.S. history and a leading advocate for the invasion of Iraq, has died at 84. Yeah, yep, that's right, reflect the sun. If you're mad that Trump is happening right now, blame Dick Cheney. Be really mad at. You could also be really mad at Joe Biden too. He's part of the whole right wing. He was a right wing Democrat his whole career. He tried to screw you over every chance that he got. In Cheney's hands, the vice presidency became a nexus of influence and manipulation. No longer the timid office whose occupants had tended their boss's ambitions, gone to endless banquets, and often waited in the wings for their own shot at the prize, while he bunkered in secure, undisclosed locations after September 11th, 2001 attacks. That was less an inconvenience for Cheney than a metaphor for a life of power that he exercised to maximum effect from the shadows. He was a small man operating big levers as if from Oz, Machiavelli with a sardonic grin, the Darth Vader of the administration, as Bush described the public's view. People used to call him Darth Cheney. No one seemed more amused at that perception than Cheney himself. Am I the evil genius in the corner that nobody ever sees come out of his hole? It's a nice way to operate, actually. And that's all. I think that's all you need to know. And he's probably one of the architects and engineers of 9/11. That's what he should have been in jail for, was committing horrible acts against the citizens of the United States. Yep, I said it. And it's true. It's true. There's ample evidence that he knew everything that was happening during 9/11, that he was not only aware, but part of the coordination of it. What was was it Leon Panetta? Oh, what? Now I need to go find it. Who testified about what was happening on 9/11 with Dick Cheney? He was the serving CIA director. He was not a fan of Cheney. Let's see. Was it Leon Panetta who said that when 9/11 was happening, he ordered him to stand down. He'd come in and said, we can take this craft out, this aircraft out or whatever, and he told him to stand down. Anyways. Seemed to implicate or heavily to imply that Dick Cheney knew what was going on. So yeah. All right, and I think lastly, Israel approves bill to execute Palestinian hostages. Remember I showed you that video yesterday of Ben-Gvir saying there's only one thing left to do to these Palestinian hostages. So just to clarify, but it is true. It is true. But there's a bit of clarity to this post. The Israel Knesset's National Security Committee has advanced a draft law that would allow the execution of Palestinian prisoners convicted of killing Israelis. Following a preliminary approval on Monday, November 3rd, 2025, the bill introduced by far-right lawmaker Limor Son Har-Malek of Otzma, or Moloch of Otzma Yehudit, and backed by the National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, has received support from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? Who reportedly gave the green light for the legislation. The committee's approval paves the way for the bill to proceed its first reading in the full Knesset. Proposal has drawn widespread condemnation from Palestinian authorities and human rights groups, because it should, with Hamas calling it a serious war crime, because it is. And my question is, are they going to be killing, they're already killing prisoners of war, hostages. That is already happening. They're torturing them to death. This is just codifying it into, law, but is it only convicted people? Does this give people leeway to take out people if they're accused and not convicted? I don't know. Does it really matter that they're passing this law? Because it seems like they're just killing people indiscriminately, no matter what, right? They seem to just take out people just because they look kind of funny. Because they pointed a finger and said, "You're Hamas." Baby with an infant hiding in a tent. So they don't need much of an excuse or a law, but this just, just keeping it disgusting, Israel. Way to go. All right, I'm going to check out some comments from people. Kate says the re-sign of the NDAA is responsible for these extrajudicial executions and abductions in U.S. cities. Yeah. The person who, re-signed the NDAA in 2011. Yeah. That's why it's, they're both working for the same people. It's hard to think that they're, the Democrats are incrementally better when they they actually allow things to get gradually worse and tilt towards the right. And I feel like that's by design. They want everybody to hate them, says Doomer Cafe. I mean, well, it's working. It's working. They're losing the They're losing the propaganda war for sure. And they're not going to be able to, and you know, blowback is real. Like I just did that. They're not going to be able to keep doing what they're doing and have the support and the power that they do. Right into the future if they continue to, you know, and they've already lost, and I think that's probably for a generation. You know, they've already lost a generation at least of, you know, younger folks in the U.S. are clear on what's happening. I don't think that's coming back, right? I don't think they're going to be able to regain that trust, or you know, or you know, regain that sympathy that they have from their, you know, victimhood. I don't think it's coming back. What say you? Y'all have some y'all have some stories you want to talk about? I've kind of covered what I wanted to cover, and I'm just kind of, we're going to do a little chatting. If you want to support the show, feel free to support the show. There are links on Odyssey and YouTube. There are, you can support via Substack as well. I'm impressed by the number of people floating over to Substack, and I'm sorry if the view is strange or weird. I apologize. I'm probably going to have to end the Substack stream soon because Substack just chews my battery up on my phone, and I'm already at like 10%, and I don't want the stream to end. I don't want my phone to die before the stream ends. So I've got about 5 minutes left on Substack. If there's a way I can make the view better on Substack, I will. I'm just considering what it is I can do, because they won't let me stream to the site. So I have to stream from my phone, which makes it kind of strange. And I would really love if Substack had like green screen kind of, you know, I think that's fairly easy to incorporate, just like TikTok. Right? When you do a video on TikTok, you can just make a little green screen happen behind you. So TikTok, you can actually green screen the thing you're talking about behind you, right? You can put, if you're talking about an article or something. I can go live on TikTok, by the way. Anyways, Substack, hello. You can get a green screen. You know, I can green screen the thing that I'm talking about right behind me. So that would make it really cool. While I'm doing these streams from my phone. Cenk fight with Miller's wife? Really? No, I didn't see that. Cenk was fighting with Miller's wife. Bill Gates doesn't buy what? Coca-Cola? CC. What is CC? Carbon credits? Is that what you mean? Oh, you're talking about climate change. His statement around climate change and humans. We're going to be okay. Yeah. Wayne says YouTube is the only channel I have left. When I leave YouTube, I will no longer be on the internet. Really? Why is that, Wayne? Are you trying to wean yourself off of the internet? It's interesting because I know a few people. I have a friend who actually started a social media company years ago, and after he was in the industry, he took himself off of social media completely. You're done. I get it. I have a love-hate with relationship, but I see the benefits of it. I think if you can kind of manage it in a way so that you're not being overtaken by it. I think I get a lot of information from, so many places. I get a lot, I like different viewpoints, and I like, being able to have access to, information, which I think the internet, the problem with the internet or in social media is that there's so many bots and propaganda going on. But, like in the case of how young people feel about Israel, that was completely social media driven and TikTok driven. And they're trying to, stop that immediately. That's the problem, is that the internet could actually be, and has been, a source of change for the good, for humanity. Like the internet could transform humanity, and I think already has, in a positive way. And has woken a lot of people up, and they don't want that. They're like, oh no, this is terrible. Right? How can we step in and control everybody's brains, on the internet, without them getting the gumption to get out there and start hive minding a new world, which is what we could totally do if they stopped, if they would allow people to exchange information. Commit fraud much? Social media? Let's see. Kameshwari. Kate on Substack says, you're going to be at the Supreme Court, British Columbia tomorrow for a judicial hearing to stop logging in Stanley Park. Good on you, Kate. Godspeed. Kate also says, I saw a 1947 movie about boxing called Body and Soul. The villain character looked like a Stephen Miller ghoul. Oh, really? Ooh, I want to watch that. They used to make some good boxing movies back in the day. What's the one with why am I Marlon Brando? He plays a boxer, and his dad is a real jerk. What is the name of that movie? Man, that's a great movie. Body and Soul. I'm gonna have to write that down. Let's see. Wayne the Pain, I'm so done. Well, stick around on YouTube for a little while. Or, whenever you leave, just wave bye-bye. I guess. The Unix green screens, yeah. I just don't know. I don't see why it would be that hard. That's what it's kind of trippy to me, that Substack won't let you live stream to the site, because it seems like such it's such a common thing to be able to do. Like, it seems fairly simple. They force you to do the phone stream. So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, man. All right, guys. I think that does it for me. Unless anybody else has a burning desire they'd like to share with us. Denver, what's up? Denver's on Substack. Yo. Kind of gonna shut down the stream soon, Denver, because my phone is running out of battery. And I've already covered all the things. So but I'll be back tomorrow at the regular time. You know the deal. You know the thing. I'll be back at 12 noon Pacific time. Well, what's up? Thanks for shouting out, Denver. Word. All right. Cool. We'll see you tomorrow. Until next time, beware the bear.